Alright, hello guys, how's it going? We're once again going to be talking about Tropical Storm Cristobal that is now in the middle of the Gulf and is posing a major threat to Louisiana, potentially Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida as well. Now, before I get started with this video though, I would ask that you do subscribe if you do like weather-related content, and also make sure to share this video with your friends, family, and social media. Now, for today's comment of the day, I want to know, what is your favorite historical weather event, whether you lived through it or if you learned about it? Which one was your favorite and most interesting to you? Let me know in the comments down below, and I'll be picking one of those for tomorrow's video. Now, let's get into this video, and we're taking a look at our satellite imagery here, our high-resolution satellite imagery, and you can see that swirl towards the middle of the screen with kind of some darker colors in there. That's our low-pressure center, but you can see there isn't very many tall clouds around it. This storm has a long way to go before it's going to be very major. It's very broad as of right now, which is kind of what the models were always predicting for this one, which I'm very impressed with, by the way. You can see very far eastward, there is some pretty tall clouds out there, and those are some very strong areas of showers and thunderstorms. And those are actually the storms that are going to make their way onto Florida. Those could be very impactful. We'll talk about that in a little while. But to the north and just to the west of our low pressure center, that's the main area of precipitation that's closest to the low pressure center. And that's the area that's mostly going to impact areas like Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're about to move on, and we're going to take a look at where that low pressure center is located, and then we're going to get into a bunch of model data like our spaghetti models, our intensity guidance, our total rainfall, things like that. Alright, and here we are taking a look at that low pressure center, and you can see it is pretty far to the north of the Yucatan Peninsula there. And this one is going to be generally just making its way north at a pretty quick speed. I think it's moving at about 12 miles per hour now, and this is as of I'm making this video at exactly 10:24 a.m. right now on June 6th. So I want you guys to know that. Just so you get the most updated information. If you're watching this a lot later, you might want to check on your own some of the information directly from NOAA, especially with this one that we're showing right now, which is our current hazards. You're going to want to really update this unless you're watching this, within an hour of this video being uploaded. I would recommend just checking the warnings and watches for your area on your own. But we do have tropical storm warning there for that red color, and then there's a pinkish lighter red color there for portions of Louisiana. That's a tropical storm watch, and that area will most likely get upgraded to a tropical storm warning as well. If you don't know, I mean, if you live there, you probably already know this, but there is a lot of areas that are very susceptible to flooding in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, and you're really going to want to be on the lookout for that. We also have some flood watches there for those green areas throughout Florida and portions of Mississippi and Alabama as well. Those are areas where we're going to see some of the heaviest precipitation move onshore, but not really going to see much of the winds. Again, we'll talk about that a little bit later. Alright, now what we're going to do is we're about to move on to our spaghetti models. We're going to take a look at where this one is predicted to be tracking by the models. We're going to talk all about that, and then we're going to get into more of the impacts that you could feel yourself, actually. So we're going to get into our simulated radar, our winds, and our total rainfall as well. Alright, and here's our spaghetti models as of right now, and they have really narrowed it down. So as you can see, it's really hard to see because it's very zoomed out, but pretty much all of them have it hitting eastern Louisiana. That's what I like to see. I like to see that consistency and that very tight area of our spaghetti models. That's really going to give me a lot of confidence that we know where this one's going to track. It's going to go up through Arkansas, through Missouri, and possibly even through Illinois. By the time it's there, it's definitely going to be a subtropical depression or just a low pressure center. And it could bring a lot of rain to a lot of those regions, but really no wind impacts. It's going to be a huge rainmaker for areas pretty far north, actually. Let's take a look at some of our ensemble models. And here's your Canadian ensemble model. Still, this one is very stretched out. I don't really like this model. I've been using it a little bit for my videos lately, and I'm not impressed whatsoever. It still has the very spread out model guidance here. As you can see, they're all over the place still. Not impressive. You can see the GEFS, which we're looking at now, is much better, and it has a much better idea of what we're expecting to see here. It pretty much is right on track with the rest of the models that we took a look at first at the very beginning here. Alright, now what we're going to do is take a look at our intensity guidance here quickly, and as you can see, it's pretty much at its peak. If not, it could get a little bit stronger, maybe 5 knots stronger, but the models have a sudden drop once it hits land. That's very usual and to be expected. It's going to lower below tropical storm status very shortly after hitting land, and this is kind of how it always goes. So you can see the time it spends over water, it's pretty much going to stay the same intensity and then very sudden drop once it hits land. All right, now we're about to move on and we're going to take a look at some more model guidance, our simulated radar, total rainfall, some wind impacts to be expected, and as well as what NOAA thinks as far as total rainfall. And then we're going to get into our official direct weather cone forecast. All right, and here we are taking a look at that simulated radar, and this is pretty much right now on our NAM 12KM model, and I'm showing this for a specific reason. We're going to want to keep an eye on Florida. We already see some showers moving onshore, but take a look at as we head later into this evening, we're going to see very heavy areas of showers, possibly even thunderstorms, being thrown onshore from this tropical storm. Even though it's so far offshore still, it's still throwing a lot of major precipitation onshore to Florida, and this is why they're going to get a lot of rainfall from this one. Here's by about maybe 10 p.m. tonight, we're still going to be dealing with the very heavy rainfall throughout Florida, and we're even going to possibly be seeing some precipitation reach Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana by this point. So this one is having a lot of precipitation very far from its low pressure center. Remember, we took a look at that satellite in the beginning, and that was very clear that the clouds, the tall clouds, were very far from the low pressure center. So I like what this model is showing here, and it seems very consistent with what's happening currently. So you can anticipate a lot of precipitation very early, well before the low pressure center moves on shore. Now let's take it to Sunday at about 8 a.m. and you can see that those heavier showers will even move into Georgia as well, southern Georgia. And here's that total rainfall on this model, only to that point. So before the low pressure center moves onshore, here's the rainfall that we're taking a look at. Already in the pink areas, we will be at 2 to maybe 4 inches of rain for the panhandle of Florida and some very extreme coastal regions of Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana there. There's going to be very heavy precipitation before we even get the storm to move in. And I'm worried about this because this could create some loosened dirt. If we do get a lot of wind, this could help create more damage to trees. I think that this could be an implication that we need to pay attention to, because if the ground really gets soaked beforehand, it's not going to help out the situation with potential tree damage. We've seen this throughout history with storms like this. All right, now we're about to move on, and we're going to move on and take a look at some of those more wind implications, and then we're also going to take a look at the GFS model, take a look at its total rainfall for the entire storm, and then again, we're going to take a look at what NOAA has to say as far as total precipitation, and then we're going to get into our official direct weather cone forecast. All right, and here we are taking a look at that wind. And I'm showing this because this is at the same frame where the precipitation is moving onshore to Florida. Our low pressure center is still very far. I wanted to show this because we could get some wind that stays pretty broad and pretty far out, just like our precipitation, but it's going to be quite weak. So Florida, even though you're getting the flooding rains, I think max you're going to be looking at maybe 25 miles per hour winds. So it could get a little gusty, but no damaging winds by any means, unless it's from a thunderstorm. I'm not looking at any widespread wind damage in Florida, Georgia, or Alabama, really. Alabama, you could, maybe even the extreme western portions of the panhandle of Florida, but really, that's the exception. All right, now let's take it to the GFS, and this is when it's pretty much moving on shore. And you can see this is going to bring some pretty major winds to Mississippi. And I guess I kind of lied. Alabama does look to get a little bit more major winds as this low pressure center moves on shore. But really the most major winds are going to be there for Louisiana, where we're seeing those yellows and oranges. That's areas that are at about 28 to maybe 36 knot winds, which is pretty intense. And again, the concerning thing here is that we saw a lot of rainfall for these areas just before they're getting this pretty damaging wind. That's not going to help out the situation whatsoever. And then here's the GFS simulated radar. After this point, you can see it actually brings some pretty heavy thunderstorms and showers onshore to Louisiana and Mississippi as well. All right, now here's the total rainfall on this model, and you can see widespread pinks, which again is about 2 to 6 inches of rain, with the most being there for Louisiana and then portions of Florida as well. And the deeper purples, which is about, I would say, 4 to 6 inches of rain there. Even some reds showing up for Mississippi and Louisiana potentially, which is 6 inches to maybe 8 inches. So yes, we're going to be looking at some very flooding rains. I think rains is a bigger concern here than wind with this one. That should be pretty clear with the tropical storm status wind or storm though. Let's go ahead and take a look at what NOAA has to say as far as total precipitation. And in our red shades, that's where we have 2 to 4 inches of rain. So you can see throughout Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, all of these regions are looking at 2 inches plus. Pinks is at about 1 inch to 2 inches. Anything else like greens and blues is less than 1 inch. And then we're seeing those gold colors there. Some of it moves onshore to Florida, but a lot of it moves onshore to Louisiana, Mississippi, and through Arkansas. That's where we're at about 4 to maybe 8 inches of rain. I think they're underdoing the rainfall here for Florida. I think you guys are going to definitely be well above 2 inches. A lot of areas they're going to probably be reaching 4 inches in Florida. But I do agree that we will have a lot of precipitation there throughout Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, and Arkansas there. Now here's their total rainfall before the storm even moves onshore. I wanted to show this because they do have that very early area of heavy precipitation moving on to Florida. As you can see, they are predicting 2 inches plus before the low pressure system even reaches land here. For Florida, you can see in the reds, again, 2 inches to 4 inches. And then in the purples, we have 1 to 2 inches there. So pretty widespread throughout Florida, Georgia, and surrounding regions. We will be dealing with 1 inch to maybe even 4 inches of rain before this storm is even on land. Now, for your direct weather official forecast, you can see that we have this one moving north, hitting Louisiana, and then moving, that's pretty clear that it's hitting Louisiana, and then it's going to move north inland very quickly, actually, and it's going to be a big rainmaker up there as well. Now, it's located at 23.9 degrees north by 90.2 degrees west. It has 50 mile per hour winds, and it has a low pressure center of 992. Its movement is at north at 12 miles per hour, which is a lot faster than it has been moving. It's really speeding up. Anyway, for today's comment of the day, I asked you guys, what is your favorite model? And nobody said my favorite model. My favorite model is the RGEM model. I think it's the best model out there, especially for short-range models, and nobody said it. But Tyler Key said European always overestimates precipitation. My favorite is Icon. And the reason I picked this comment is because I've never heard of somebody saying their favorite model is the Icon model. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Thank you for commenting. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Again, be sure to share it with your friends, family, and social media. I will see you guys in the next video.